With the Overwatch Championship Series just around the corner, it feels fitting to put Overwatch League to rest and talk about the greatest players of each role through all 6 seasons. It's important to remember that greatest does not mean best. The best tanks would be the most recent ones because of how accumulated knowledge of the game increases over time. If you sent current day Ben Best back into Season 1, he would sweep every award and invent esports before Jane has even considered the notion. So to determine the greatest players, it's more about tenure, accolades, impact on the game, and just overall feeling. In this rankings, their off tanks and Overwatch 2 tanks aren't ignored, but they have to be inarguably main tank players to be considered for this list. Number 5 is actually someone we're all quite familiar with. With only 2 seasons in the league, someone has made his mark already. No other tank has won regular season MVP, and he's the core reason Florida was able to secure the 2023 championship. This is the very first time a team was able to utilize the strategy of combining the power of every single previous Owl tank into one dude. The concept just did not exist before someone. Now, he 100% lacks the experience compared to other players on this list, but he's accomplished more in 2 years than players like Gushue have in 5. And you're gonna just have to trust me on this one because the stats lab is gone, but even in season 5 as a young no-name rookie relentlessly beaten down by the Gunba regime, he was statistically standing on business like no other. By the numbers, he was best in class on basically every tank in the game, or top 3 at bare minimum. And can you imagine the mental toll of looking across the stage and just knowing this guy is going to Fortnite dance all over your grave after you lose? Someone is built so differently that he is a top 5 GOAT main tank in only 2 seasons. Number 4 is the exact opposite of someone. It has to be Fate. He's been in the league since day 1 and was on the greatest Overwatch team of all time in the 2021 Shanghai Dragons. This guy came in to replace Fearless, who just went on an absolute tear in 2020 and made it look easy. Fate isn't the CEO of anything, but he is employee of the month every day. Sure, in Overwatch 2, he may have been one of the all-time worst. I mean, he got relegated from branch manager to night shift janitor after driving the company vehicle through a gas station, but that doesn't mean he isn't one of the greats. The first sign of him being a GOAT was when he was doing shit with Chris as his main support on Florida, and the second sign was when players like Gaga were out here spending all their time in custom games, putting in 25 hours of Wrecking Wheel per day, when Fate just picked up the hero, learned 0 tech, and still did enough to get the job done to perfection. That's what it means to be a truly employed player. He was not trying to work overtime or fuck up his work-life balance. Bro didn't even get a roll star one time. He clocked in, clocked out, and collected his prize money. This mix of longevity and flexibility that led him to being the correct choice over Fearless for the best team to grace Overwatch puts him into the GOAT conversation. At 3, we have Super the Forehead. You might know him as the 5'6" guy who wore Reebok athletic shoes to a red carpet event, but believe it or not, at one point he was dominating Owl on Reinhardt, a little Roadhog, and probably some other guys as well. In 2019, Super had the foresight to know that the league was about to leave behind the age of plumbers, and he needed to cash in quick before things got a bit too tough. So even when he was splitting time with Smurf, he put up one of the most impressive 2-season stints of all time. And the crazy thing is, he still kind of got it. And I know this is an Owl only list, but after retiring for 2 seasons, he was still the guy Team USA wanted on the squad. Bro was playing from the retirement home, reading chat mid-team fight, and was still benching Kaluge on the hero he's supposed to be world class on. Like it or not, no other tank has had the same impact on the scene as Super, and no one else has the mental fortitude to hit the reverse 3-peat at the Streamer Awards either. At number 2, we have fellow SF Shock Dynasty main tank Smurf. As soon as Ghost was over, he easily took over the reins on Winston and Orisa, and not very many teams can lose the personality of Super the Frog and continue being the best of the best. If these two didn't share the spotlight in the golden years of the Shock, it's very possible both of them would have had more individual achievements. Unlike Super, however, Smurf actually moved out of his parents' basement and became one of the most flexible tanks through Overwatch 2. On Winston, Smurf stands out from other greats like Gushue or Fearless because he has a much more flexible playstyle. He can carry if he needs to, but he can also perfectly set up the other players on his team for maximum success. Smurf as a solo tank is not just a non-issue, it's entirely a benefit. He's never stagnated and has only continued to add more dimensions to his game. All of this has resulted in him siphoning up oil money with the best of the best on Falcons Esports, where another ring looks imminent. And now it all comes down to the main tank GOAT being Fearless. He went from the 040 Shanghai Dragons to the most winningest main tank both team-wise and individually. Every single year since he's been back to the show, he's been a role star or an MVP. The only other player to have an award like that 4 years in a row is Lip, but no one else even comes close for main tanks. Sure, there has been some debate if he really is the best Winston compared with Gushue at times, but Fearless is also shown to completely decimate on Reinhardt, whereas outside of GOATs, Gushue looked more like a lost child wandering around in Walmart wielding a squeaky hammer. And where do you think the entire Dallas Hivemind identity stemmed from? It surely was the main tank. And while of course Dallas remained on the same wavelength like mushrooms communicating through mulch-rich soil all of 2022, but Fearless was able to keep in sync despite sitting out the majority of the season. He seamlessly reintegrated into the Hivemind and presented to us the greatest gap in ability between him and Mikey Mouse since Seagull speedran Anubis in 30 seconds. Fearless is the greatest Winston player, and that alone, even ignoring all the other stuff, gives him a very solid argument for greatest main tank. But there are of course some big players that didn't make the list, like Gushue, Gesture, or maybe Sato, I guess. So you should let me know who your top 5 greatest main tanks are in the comments, and join my Discord in the description down below to vote on which role I should do next. Have yourself a good one. Deuces.